start on YouTube and I press go live on Facebook and then it's yes, we are live and it's awesome. Let me check one thing. Good evening, people. Good evening. Let me check just some little bit of tech stuff because I'm not sure and my husband is upstairs with the babies. So let me just check this out. Yes, we're live on YouTube and on Facebook. It's amazing. I got this. So, welcome
Hey,
everyone. Today I'm going to talk with Sylwia Konopko. Do I pronounce that right? Yes, very
yes.
good. And we are going to talk about something that I think is a very hot topic right now because, well, I'm Brechtje Monk and I'm a happiness coach to depressed mothers, and I see many mothers getting anxiety just of the thought of their kids having to go back to school or going to school for the first time, which is absolutely exciting to say the least. So I came to know Sylvia, who is a terrific coach, but also a elementary school teacher. So she really sees and knows both sides of the story about the anxiety. And we were like, we have to meet before most schools are starting again. So welcome, Sylvia. I'm very excited to meet you. Please let us all know who you are and what you do exactly.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate that. And
You're welcome.
like you said, my name is Sylwia Konopko. I'm a teacher and I'm also a parenting coach. And I live in Florida in the United States. So for us, school started about 2 weeks ago in most of the counties. It's different for different places, but I know that in different states, and because of Corona, it will start at a different time. So also different parts of the world will be starting a month or two from now. So I know that a lot of parents have a lot of questions, especially that I notice that things are actually changing daily right now from
Yeah,
week to week.
yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
last year we have remote learning that the children had option to learn at home on Zoom. For example, this year in Florida, it's not available, and we don't know if it's going to change or not. I'm not sure how it's going to look in the different states, but that gives a lot of anxiety to so many parents. There's so
Yes.
many concerns because some children have, health issues, and the parents don't feel comfortable. There's a lot of questions regarding masks because, let's say, in the state of Florida, they're no longer mandatory, they're optionals.
Yeah.
That gives a lot of anxiety to so many parents, especially mothers who are so concerned. There are parents that really don't worry about it at all. But in some cases, that, can cause a lot of, questions. And when you have a board meetings, there's so many emotions involved for the
Yeah.
parents who attend the meetings. So it's just, a lot going on right now. We are still in the middle of pandemic. Even though vaccine is available, it's not available for the children under 12 years old.
Yeah.
So that's
So,
something that is changing.
so you are already, school already started 2 weeks ago. So what do you see from your teacher's side of you, how the kids are dealing with it? Because I think that can be something to ease the mind of many mothers if they know how their children are coping with everything.
What I see right now is there is a lot of uncertainty. Things are changing every single day from health department. We're getting different information regarding quarantine and, steps that we need to take to protect ourselves and children. The numbers are changing, how it's going to be done, and I'm pretty sure that it's different by every state. So, more parents know ahead of the game, better they can be prepared. And it's really up to the parent how they're going to prepare the child to attend the school.
Yeah.
So from the masks to, many other steps that they need to take to make sure that the child will be well prepared for the school. So I recently actually got my free ebook with 5 easy steps that the parents can take to prepare the kids for the epic first day of school. And it doesn't matter if it's a first day of school for the children or they're returning to school, but those are very easy steps that parents can take to make sure that kids have very smooth transition from summer to attending school again. And the steps are, starting with, preparation and excitement from transitioning from the summer to school, because of course kids are super excited to go back to school because they get to meet their friends again and talk about the summer and how they were traveling or maybe doing exciting things or camps or learn something new. And they love sharing these stories, and they're also excited about meeting new friends, meeting new teachers, going to the next grade. So there's a lot involved with new routines. Children actually absolutely love their routines, and they love to impress the parents. They love to show you, Mommy, I learned something new. Mommy, I can do it by myself. So if we actually start with what I call gradual release, that we let them just do a little bit more and more and more every single day, kiddos will do everything and anything to impress you. Mommy, look what I can do today, right? And it
Yeah.
starts with any age. You just approach it a little bit differently, right? With the different questions and different approaches and a different kind of routines that you allow them to do. From, brushing their teeth by themselves for the first time. I don't know, preparing their outfit for the first time, maybe uniform, maybe just driving themselves to school for the first time if they're in a high school. So it's different levels,
Yeah.
in a different schools from elementary to middle to high school. But also, when you start to prepare yourself for the first day of school, it also starts with going shopping. Let's say we have to go pick the new backpack. We have to go get the new lunchbox. We need to get some clothes. We got to go get the supplies for school.
Oh, I
So when
remember
we go
that
to
very
Daycare,
well from my own when we were like, yes, we get new school stuff. I was so excited. So yeah,
absolutely.
that's so
And when you
true.
take those little, short supply list with you, that makes your life easier. And when you take your child with you and you go, according to the list, that makes them be involved. They feel more responsible. They know that this is the expectation, and they are like, oh my goodness, the school is really coming. So it's
Yeah,
like when everything starts with a preparation. More prepared you are, more you know what's coming, better you start.
that's true.
And it's also regarding to, like I said, speaking of Corona and calling the school earlier, knowing what the expectations are, knowing who your child's teacher is going to be, especially when they go to school for the first time. Like, if you have a child who's in preschool or they entering elementary school for the first time, just giving them a little note with the teacher's name, because there's so many kids that by the time they get either on a bus or they even exit the car and get to the gate of the huge school, that maybe they didn't even have a chance to have an open house and go and meet the teacher. By the time they get to this building and they enter huge courtyard, the anxiety and emotions or excitement takes over, and they don't even remember who the teacher is or where the classroom is,
Yeah,
especially if they didn't have a chance to be on a campus to meet the teacher. So if you write
which
the
is
name,
very, probably very common right now with
common right
COVID
now.
because yeah, we were not allowed to get in school or to get to know the teachers. So that's probably something to deal with. Like even here in Holland, before summer, we were as parents we were not allowed into the building, so we couldn't help
Yes,
our kids to find the way and do their thing. So when it's like a completely new entry into school, I can imagine that is very, very exciting for the kid, but also for the parent. Like you're leaving your most precious asset like there. And I've learned in the past few weeks that in the States, like even a 4-year-old goes on a school bus on his or her own and goes to school and has to find her own way back home after school as well. So I've seen many mothers like going completely nuts basically just because of the thought like I have to leave my baby at the bus because they have other children at home. So they cannot go or it's just too far or they don't even have a car. So what would you uh, advise those mothers to how to cope with such a uh, situation? Because I can imagine that's like I'm not in that kind of situation myself, so it's very hard for me to imagine how that would be like. But if I just try to imagine, I'm I would get anxious as well.
Mhm.
So how would you advise parents to deal with that?
Yeah, I remember when you told me that it's completely different in Holland because of the community support and how tight the community is and smaller, and it just looks very differently. But
Yeah,
I think that one of the biggest advice I would give is just breathe
breathe.
and then get as much as information as possible from the transportation. They will explain you all the steps because how it looks in Florida, there is always an aide on the bus that supports all those young children. And there is extra support at school that are waiting for the children to arrive. And there's a proximity to the school when the bus is unloading students. And there is a lot of people always waiting for them. So when they enter the school, they have so much support that everybody makes sure they get to the classroom safely. If
Oh,
they're
okay.
super young, they usually have like a little rope for them to hold on to. So they
Yeah.
all walk together. Um, and it's usually not a huge group of students. It's going to be between, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 students at the time. So we're not talking about a classroom of 20 or
Oh,
more.
okay.
And yes, so it sometimes looks when you think about it, oh my goodness, my child's going to get lost. It's not the case. And plus, when they come to school, the first thing it's being done, their backpacks are being labeled with their name, the grade, and the bus they're on, the bus number, bus color, so everybody knows what's the child's name, how they get home. So when, let's say, if somebody would wander away, I don't know, 2 feet away from them, and they cannot tell them their name,
Yeah.
because sometimes the children, parents call them their nicknames, and when they come to school, they just are able to tell you their nickname.
Yeah.
So everybody just looks at the backpack and everybody knows all their information. Sometimes parents even label their backpacks before school does, before they come to school. So
Yeah.
they're safe. And school board does so much to support them. So it's like we just want to make sure that we give parents peace of mind and they know exactly what's coming and they are safe and they come to school safely and they get home as well
Well, that's
safely.
comforting to know. I'm sure that a lot of
Yes.
mothers will be like, okay, that's a relief.
Yeah. They also have a roster on a bus with all the information on every student that's being checked off when children get on the bus and when they get off the bus. So they have a procedures in place to keep every single child safely. So that's very important for all the moms to know because especially it's the first child they have and
Yeah.
procedures are changing. They also with Corona are sanitizing all the buses. They spray with the sprays. It's just there's so many steps being taken to make sure that everybody's safe.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful thing to know. Yes.
Thank you so much for explaining that because I was like, oh, that's such a big world. Like it's not just a little something. And I remember very well bringing my firstborn to daycare for the first time, leaving her with to me complete strangers, and I was like, holy crap, that was that was a step to take. And I can imagine just because of the pandemic and everything, kids didn't even been to daycare before they go to school or to preschool or whatever, because well, it was just all closed and allowed and things like that. So it's like going to elementary school really is their first experience.
Yes,
So
but yes, in a big group. But um, about, I don't know, 16 years ago, maybe, when I first was starting in a teaching career, I was working in a smaller daycare. And there were several moms actually that I met throughout my career that were able to be stay home moms, but they were taking a job either as a teacher or teacher aide, where they didn't even have to work at all, just to be closer to the child because the child was attending free school.
I can
Just
imagine.
because, you know what? It takes a huge step for them to take to trust the
Yeah,
person that you don't know to leave your child with.
yeah,
It takes
exactly.
time. And, especially, it's like, especially when somebody just moved out of state, they were new to Florida. It just takes time to build a trust, right? So
Yeah,
I understand all the moms that go through that. It's not easy. Absolutely.
yeah. Thank you so much. So, okay, so you're a elementary school teacher, but you're
Yeah.
also a parenting coach.
Yes.
So, what is that? What made you like you were first a teacher and then you decided to become a coach? What's the story there? Could you share a little bit more?
See, throughout my career, I had so many parents that came to me with so many questions regarding usually behavior. Because in order to have the child be a successful student, there was a behavior in a way, and some kind of issue. For example, they were really stubborn or strong willed, and they didn't want to listen to the parents at home. They didn't want to follow directions at school at first. And, every time I had this kind of behavior that I observe in student, I just have to change the approach. And if one technique didn't work, I have to do something else. And as soon as I saw that they were having great results, I shared it with parents. And I said, why don't you just, try this at home? It worked really, really well at school. And they were like, what? Like, when I told them what I tried, they were like, excuse me, like, what? So let's say, years ago, I learned that, for example, a little kid's brain cannot hear word no. So when you tell them no running, kids only hear running. That's
Yeah,
why they continue running. Um, when you say walk, they suddenly go, what? And they start walking. So I had this mom years ago who came to me, and she, like, every time she came to pick up her daughter, she would say, no running. And she's like trying to pick her up. And, more she said that, more her daughter kept running in the playground because she was always picking her up when we were outside in the playground. And she would never come to listen to her. So one day I approached her and I kind of started a conversation with her about that. And you know what? After, I believe, 2 days, when I explained her the subject, she came to me. She goes, I just don't even know how to thank you. And I'm like, for what? She started the conversation with me. She goes, I just listened to everything you said. And I started to approach her completely different. I started to say walk. I started to say things that you suggested, and it just worked. And
yeah,
her daughter was absolutely most beautiful, gorgeous, smart child, but also very, very strong will. And
yeah.
once she changed her approach and she saw the results, little by little, I was giving her more tips, and this is how it all started. I'm like, if there are parents that are willing to try a different approach because they can see the results, not everybody wants to try it because they just believe that whatever they wanted to do is going to work after a while, but if you are willing to try something else, because let's say somebody else tried it and they did have a different results, here I am to help.
Yeah,
So after seeing results with her daughter at home, she was so grateful. I'm like, okay, that's one of the steps that we can take, sharing the results. There is another example. I had mom who, actually it was a funny situation. When we had a conference at school, she said, you know what, I don't even know what to do with him anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, he's one of the best listeners I have at school. And she goes, excuse me? And she was like, He just cut his hair at home with scissors. He cut his pants, his brand new jeans I bought him. He did this, he did this. I'm like, I don't think we are talking about the same boy. And she goes, yes, we are. And I actually explained her a few things regarding the changes that need to be done. And she made those changes. And then at the end of the school year, she came to me with a little gift. And it was before I started even coaching parents. And she bought me this little mug that says miracle worker. And I'm like, no, it's not a miracle. It's if you have the right approach to every child, because every child is different. And
Yeah.
throughout my entire career, I never had two children that were the same. Neither
And
I did
I
have
think that's kind of a golden key you gave just right there. Like it's not it's every kid is different, and
that's why you need to have a
how you
different
deal
approach.
with one kid is not going to work at the other. But
There's
even
not two kids that are the same. They might have a similar behavior, but you have to approach them differently. That's why you have to have so many different tools in your toolbox
yeah,
regarding tragedies you're going to use. And that's what my job comes here as a coach, to give the parents tools that they need that will work with their children. And even doing it at school with the children, if there is something that's not going to work for about 2 weeks, we have to try something else.
yeah,
We have to find something that's going to work with your child. And it's got to be working for you at home because you're the parent.
yeah,
It's not going to work for me. It's got to work for you, for your family, for your dynamics at home, for your lifestyle, for what you want to do in your home, in your life. Maybe you love to travel. Maybe you have a very busy schedule. Maybe you travel for work a lot and you're not always there, but you still need to have certain expectations at home, certain things that you want to make sure that will happen when you're not there.
yeah,
Or maybe you are there 24/7. It just changes for every family. Maybe you are a blended family. Maybe you have children that were adopted. Maybe you have just one child at home and you're going to have a completely different dynamics than when you have 4, 5 children.
oh, for sure.
Absolutely. And when you have different age groups, when you have children that are maybe 2 years apart, and maybe you have a child that was born 10 years ago and then you have another one 10 years apart, that's going to be completely different dynamics at home. When you have a high schooler and then you have a newborn, that's going to be completely different world. So you're going
We're
to need,
dealing with that.
see? So you're going
Like
to
we
need
have an
completely different strategies.
11-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So it's all
They will have completely different needs because they're in a different stages of their lives.
yeah,
So yes, you're going to be having absolutely different expectations towards them, different routines, different challenges.
yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that because we are dealing with something right now because of course our 11-year-old already gets more chores and more responsibilities than our
Yes.
6-year-old, and he feels that's completely unfair because he has to do more. so so I was like, yeah, but sweetie, when you were 6 years old, you didn't
Yeah.
have to do a thing because you were the only one,
Yeah.
and we were just taking care of you because we had time.
Yeah.
And
And would you
now his sister, she's already 6-year-old, and she already has chores. And then, of course, our 1-year-old, he's the happy baby that runs around and has to do nothing at all. So
know,
they are like, that's not fair. Well, yeah,
and it's sometimes like when you pick the chores, I had so many parents asking me about, oh my God, how do you do that? Blah, blah, blah. What do I put like a chart on the fridge? Do I give them stickers? How do I do that? And I'm like, you know what? Again, it has to fit your family dynamics. What I think is best, pick something that they actually are not only capable of doing, but they will enjoy doing.
yeah.
So let's say, last thing I want to do is fold the laundry. Please don't give it to me. But hey, I love to do folding the laundry when it's done with, I don't know, coming out from a, nice and warm dryer. Or, okay, I love to take the trash out. It's easy, simple, boom, 3 seconds, I'm done. And I will be able to do this and I actually will enjoy it. Some people, like things like cleaning, and they will be really awesome at it. So first, let them make choice. I think it should be like a kind of family thing, that everybody gathers together. And if you start with giving him a choice, they're gonna take a little bit more responsibility in it. But
Yeah.
it's gotta be something. They have to pick something. It's not gonna be choice. Are you gonna do it or you're not gonna do it? It's gotta be choice. You're gonna pick something.
Yeah.
Out of two or three, you're gonna pick one or two, whatever the expectations are in a family. Um, and you just gotta find the language to communicate with them so they will understand. You're not 6 years old, you are 11. So we are going to have a little bit different expectations. And when you're going to be 16 or 17 and able to drive, you might be helping driving your sister brother to school. So that's going to change in the future as well.
Yeah,
So
so we
heads up,
already set the expectation for in about
expectation
5 years.
from what's coming. So he doesn't think this is that bad now, okay?
Yeah. Well, that's a good one. Thank you.
Yeah, you just got to set up the stage.
Yeah. Well, I
Everybody's got
I
different
really believe that that's a good thing to do. Like I always am very open and honest. Like I talk in their level of language, but always
yeah.
tell them the truth. Like I'm not hiding things from them just because they're kids. And I really think that helps because they at least feel that they are at the same level as I. They're not below me. They're not above me. Like, and that's what I teach them as well. Like we are all human and we are all on the same level, no matter who you are. Respect is respect, and it counts for everybody. And love is love, and it's the same for everyone. So
And that's a very important thing. And that's actually how you teach them to earn respect. You have your chores, and everybody's got a chores. I have a chores, that's responsibility, and that's how you get respect. You have chores, that's your responsibility, that's how you get respect. And also, like you mentioned before, that is very important that when you talk to them, you speak the language they can understand, because you will
yeah,
talk differently to a 2-year old that knows 5 words: stop, sit, yes, no,
yeah,
that they can understand, and on the level when you're trying to stop some kind of behavior, right? And you're going to communicate differently with 11, 15, 16 years old or 6 years old, and explaining them things in the way that they understand, especially when you talk to a 5, 6 year old, getting to their eye level so they understand you're not talking from above,
yeah,
you actually are on their level, and you're not trying to dictate them things. You are on the same level. We are family, and we're doing it all together as a team. And there is no I in a team. We have to do it all together. So they
yeah,
don't feel like they're the only person in this family getting things done. We all have things to do there. They're just different because we have different abilities. And, they cannot do things you can do. They cannot go to work and make income.
well,
They cannot support
they
you. They
get
cannot drive.
creative though. They are thinking about YouTube movies and things like that. Like that wasn't even the case when I was growing up. So it's
Exactly.
creative, and
Yes,
I'm
yes.
not saying no. I'm just like, okay, just figure out what you
Yeah.
want to do on YouTube and start, and we'll see.
Yes, absolutely. Right after you finish your chores, go ahead.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's kind of because of course now it's so different from when we were young, right? Like I didn't have a
Yeah.
phone, I didn't have an iPad, I didn't have a laptop. Like I remember I still had to write my essays with
Yeah.
not even a ballpoint pen, but a filler pen.
Yes, yes, yes.
Those very old
I
school
remember
pens. Like we had to write our essays on that, and I remember in I think in high school we got computers in school and we got computer lessons and we used the internet for stuff and we were like I grew up
that.
in a very very small town, so we
Yes,
were a little bit
yes,
later than the rest of the world, but it's a different era when it comes to that. So
yes.
I feel like I really believe we are programmed in a kind of way because of how we grow up, or because of how we are raised. So I'm still very much raised with not too much television time, no computers,
Yeah,
and things like that. So in the beginning, I was doing the same for my kids, but it's like it's almost uh, you are holding them back when you are withholding them from iPads and computers and the digital world because the world is so digital. What is your point of view as a teacher slash parenting coach? Because I'm sure you have a lot of parents dealing with the same thing. What is your point of
absolutely.
view on that?
Actually, I had this conversation with some of the parents that contacted me about the coaching on that subject. It was about the tech tantrums that the kids are starting to throw at age as young as 3, 4 years old, because they get literally addicted to technology. So once you
Yeah,
give them this phone or iPad and you take it away, they just cannot handle
yeah,
the stress that it's causing in them when it's being taken away. So it's like, for me, it's all about creating a balance. I don't think it's a good idea not to have them exposed to it because of the world that we live in.
yeah.
And when we were younger, there was no such a thing. And now everything is going to be digital. So let's say your youngest one, 20 years from now, things that are going to be available, I cannot even imagine right now.
No, he already
Things that
knows how to swipe on my phone. It's
Oh,
crazy.
absolutely. And that's another thing that children, before they come to school right now, this is what they develop. They develop swipe, they don't develop grip. How to, let's
Yeah.
say, hold the pencil. There is no grip to hold the pencil. They develop swipe. But
Oh,
that's what's
it's
going to be
so good
future.
that you're saying that.
I
It's
don't even know if they're going to be able to sign the names. I don't even know if that's going to be a thing 20 years from now. It's really mind blowing what I see from kids when they come to
yeah,
school. But you have to have them exposed to technology. You have to allow them. But at the same time, you have to have some kind of boundaries and limit that.
yeah.
It's the same about TV. It's the same about having activities that help them stay healthy physically. And let's say when we were younger, our favorite word was outside, because we
Oh, for
could
sure.
run around.
Outside and Barbie.
Yes, play games, get creative. It has changed. So I believe that, as long as you can put some kind of boundaries and the children understand that, they will be able to understand that, because
Yeah.
who's the boss at home? Mommy and daddy. Who
See.
can give you this little advice when you were 2, 3 years old? Mommy and daddy. Who can take it away? Mommy and daddy. And if you tell them, okay, you're going to have 30 minutes today on that, you can choose. You can have 15 minutes in the morning, you can have 15 minutes in the afternoon, depends on how your schedule looks like. Would you like to have 30 minutes now and then no device for the rest of the day? What would you like? It depends on the age also,
Yeah.
how you're going to communicate. With the younger kids, you can't avoid them having it,
Yeah.
because parenting with a busy household, okay, you got to cook the dinner, you got to answer the phone, you got to answer emails, you got to do so many things. And sometimes you just need to have a peace of mind for 10 minutes. Just get this phone, watch the video, enjoy. Mommy needs a break. Mommy needs a break. And we're going to
Absolutely.
eat together. You gotta keep saying, but just don't go over limits. Don't do it 2, 3 hours a day. That's what's creating addiction
Yeah.
in such young kids. But once you set up the boundaries and you give them certain choices that they feel like they're in a control, would you like to have 15 minutes now and 15 minutes later, or 30 minutes now, 30 minutes later, depending on the age, the projects they work on? Just make sure you put the boundaries and have them be aware of it, and also have them be a part of it.
Yeah.
Like they're participating, that they're not just being like, oh, hey, you got to do this and you got to do this. Like,
Yeah. You're not a
approach,
dictator.
yeah, if you approach them as a dictator, it's going to be always a war. It's going to be always, they're going to fight you back. More you push, more they're going to push back. So, it's got to be also something that works for your family. There are children that are absolutely fascinated with technology, and they're going to be next Bill Gates. They
It's
love it. They know
possible. Like,
everything about it. Absolutely. But, just having this balance so they do not get to the point that you go to the store with them, you take it away because you got to get busy with something else, you focus away, and they throw tantrum in the middle of the store on the ground, yelling, screaming, and Lord knows what else.
Yeah.
So I believe it's all about balance
Yeah.
and making it
That's a
work for you
very
and your family.
balance. So, well, we're already over 35 minutes. That went very fast. That's crazy.
We were
So,
focused on a lot of subjects.
well, we covered a lot. So, if you are just tuning in, please look back, look on the replay when you're dealing with the anxiety of your kids going back to school or going to school for the first time, because we covered a lot of that in the first 15 minutes of this interview, which was absolutely amazing. And Sylvia gave a lot of good tips how to deal with that as a parent and how your kids are going through the day, the school bus drive, and everything else on their first day of school. So it's a good thing to watch on replay. Sylvia, you talked about a free ebook with those 5 tips. Where can people find that book?
You can just DM me. I can put the little link in this chat underneath when we are done, and just say yes, raise your hand, and I'm going to send you the info.
Okay, so they can just send you a direct message or put it in the comments, and then
In a comment, send me a direct message, and it's yours. And I hope I
oh,
will help you. I got
awesome.
several friends that said it was pretty good, and they were excited to follow the tips. It makes their life easier and the kiddos' life easier. That's what's so important.
And that's what we all want, right? Just
Yes,
happy family
absolutely.
time.
Mhm. And a peace of mind for parents and the kids. So they remember
Absolutely.
the first day of school as a really great day.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you very much for this interview. And I will, well, let Sylvia know if you want that free ebook with those 5 tips. Just send her a message or put a comment below this video, and we will take care. If you send me a message that's okay, I will forward it to Sylvia. We are in contact, so that's all good. And we are
Absolutely.
going to leave it at this. So I want to wish
Me too.
everyone a good day or a good evening, depending on where you are, because for you, it's still a very nice sunny afternoon, and here it's already getting dark. So it's going to be a great day for you, and it's going to be a challenging night for me, I guess, because I hear my baby crying.
I hear that.
But he's with his
Oh,
daddy, so he's good. So Sylvia, thank you so much, and
thank you so much as well. I appreciate it. I hope
thank you
we added a lot of value to everybody who's
for
watching.
sure, for sure. So thank you very much, and
Thank
have a
you.
great day.
Appreciate it. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everybody.
Thank you.